It's medieval Japan and you're born in 1584 in a tiny village so small and forgettable that the only remarkable thing about it is that it gave you your name. Your name is Benasuke. Your mom dies giving birth to you. You never meet her. Your dad? Nobody knows. What you do get is a stepfather named Shinmen Munisai, a man who is somehow both the best swordsman in the region and the worst human being you've ever met. He beats you, yells at you, and when you're just 6 years old, he decides he's done with you entirely and throws you out of the house. Rough start. You go live with your uncle, a Buddhist monk who feeds you, shelters you, and genuinely wants you to grow up calm and peaceful. You try. You really do. Until you're 12 years old, walking through town one afternoon, and you see a posted challenge on a wall. A warrior named Arima Kihei is calling out anyone brave enough to fight him in a sword duel. You don't have a sword. You pick up a long wooden stick. You find him. You tell him you'll fight. He laughs, probably, then draws his actual blade. You circle each other. He charges. You swing the stick as hard as you possibly can and knock the sword clean out of his hands. He stares at you, confused and afraid. On pure instinct, you crack him over the head. He drops. You just won your first duel. At 12. With a stick. He survives. Barely. Hooray. Your uncle is not thrilled. He begs you to stop, to seek peace, to find enlightenment. You listen until you're 15, when a warrior named Tadashima Akiyama challenges you. This time, the man does not survive. You stand over his body and realize something important: the life your uncle wanted for you is simply not the life you're going to live. You rename yourself Miyamoto Musashi. You leave your uncle's house forever. You are going to become the greatest warrior Japan has ever seen. Puberty helps. You shoot up to 6 feet tall, nearly a full foot taller than most men around you. You are enormous, fast, and completely fearless. The timing is perfect because Japan itself is at war. The 100-year warring states period, the Sengoku Jidai, is finally ending. Two massive forces are choosing sides, the Tokugawa clan on one side, Ishida Mitsunari on the other. You and your stepfather, who you've oddly made peace with, side with Tokugawa. You fight in a few small skirmishes. You completely miss the massive battle of Sekigahara, which is the actual battle that decides everything. A historian writing about you centuries later will decide that's too boring. He'll invent a version where you fought at Sekigahara on the losing side, becoming a wandering ronin. People alive today will read that version and get very upset when someone on YouTube tells them it isn't true. They will write long comments about it. You are blissfully unaware of all of this because you are dead. You survive the end of the wars and go back to doing what you love, which is wandering around looking for people to fight. You remember that your stepfather once humiliated the headmaster of the most famous fencing school in Kyoto, the Yoshioka school. You think, why not do the same? You're 20. You arrive in Kyoto in 1604. You walk into the Yoshioka school and challenge the headmaster, Seijiro Yoshioka, to a duel. He accepts wooden swords, scheduled time and place. He's angry. Very angry. And something about his anger gives you an idea. What if he were angrier? On the day of the duel, you simply don't show up. You let him wait. An hour. 2 hours. More. When you finally arrive, Seijiro's face is red, his jaw is tight, and his hands are shaking with rage. The moment he sees you, he charges, no strategy, no patience, pure fury. You calmly raise your wooden sword and break his shoulder with a single strike. He never fights again. He becomes a monk. But now his brother, Denshikiro, wants revenge. He challenges you. You accept. You show up, you swing, you hit him in the head. A little too hard this time. He dies. The Yoshioka school has now lost two of its top fighters to the same wandering stranger, and in a moment of either desperation or insanity, they name a 12-year-old boy named Matashikiro as their new headmaster and send him to challenge you. You remember that you personally killed a man at age 12, so you take this somewhat seriously. But something feels wrong about the whole situation. Instead of showing up late this time, you arrive early and hide in the trees. Good instinct. The entire school arrives. Armed students, bows, spears, swords. There is number 12-year-old headmaster waiting for a fair duel. This is a mob. This is an execution. You wait until they're all in position. Then you burst from the trees, cut down the boy before anyone can react, and fight your way through the crowd until you're out of the city. You just single-handedly destroyed the most prestigious fencing school in Japan. You're kind of famous now. Leaving Kyoto, you hear about an 81-year-old Buddhist monk in Nara who is supposedly a master of spear fighting. You want to test yourself against something new. You travel there. The old man, reasonably, sends out a disciple named Okazozu to fight in his place. You win. Nobody dies. Everyone's polite about it. A surprisingly nice afternoon for once. You wander more. Somehow you cross paths again with your stepfather, Munisai, the man who threw you out at age 6. He's older now. He watches you move and fight and realizes he completely misjudged you as a child. He teaches you his personal fighting system, a weapon in each hand, sword and jit working together. You take this and build on it, developing what will become your signature style, Nitten Ichiryu. 2 swords. Simultaneously. Always. You're 23 when a samurai named Shishido challenges you in Mimasaka Prefecture. His weapon of choice is a kusari-gama, a curved sickle attached to a long, heavy chain. He swings the chain at you from a distance, trying to wrap it around your sword and yank it from your hands, then rush in with the blade. You watch his rhythm. You find the gap. When the chain flies at you again, you sprint directly into it and put your sword through his chest. Another one. Word spreads. The more you win, the more dangerous the challengers become. A warrior named Musō Gonnosuke, known across Japan for his skill with a bow staff, finds you and attacks without even saying hello. You block his strike with a technique you develop on the spot, the Juji Dome, and you disarm him. He runs away to a Shinto shrine to think about what went wrong. He comes back. He spent the time developing a new, shorter staff called a jo and an entirely new fighting style to go with it. The rematch is genuinely hard. So hard that you call it a draw. He tells everyone he won. He founds a school, Shinto Musō-ryu, and his main selling point for centuries is that he defeated Miyamoto Musashi in a duel. You disagree. But you're already moving on. You fight 2 men simultaneously in Edo and win. And now the man who was always just a rumor, just a name spoken carefully, Sasaki Kojiro, sends you an invitation. The greatest swordsman in Japan wants to meet you on an island called Funajima. April 13, 1612. Sasaki Kojiro is not like the others. He's enormous. He carries an odachi, a sword so long most men can barely swing it, and his signature technique, the swallow cut, is said to be nearly impossible to defend against. The people who have seen him fight and survive talk about him the way people talk about natural disasters. You understand, maybe for the first time in your life, that you might actually lose. So you plan. On the morning of the duel, you sleep in. You eat. You take your time. By the time you board a small boat to the island, the sun is already high. You tell the oarsman to go slow. While he rows, You take one of his spare oars and start carving it into a wooden sword with your knife. You work slowly, deliberately. The sun is getting low in the sky when you finally nod at the oarsman and tell him to bring you ashore. Kojiro is waiting on the beach. He has been waiting for hours. His face tells you everything: the clenched jaw, the rigid posture, the way his hand keeps touching his sword hilt. He starts talking before you've even stepped off the boat. Words are flying. Spit is flying. He is not calm. He looks at the crude oar sword in your hand and somehow gets even angrier. He draws his odachi and hurls the scabbard into the sand. You smile. You've already lost, you say. A man who throws away his scabbard has no plan to leave alive. He screams and charges. The swallow cut comes fast, impossibly fast, and it passes so close to your face that it slices the cloth of your headband clean off your head. Your hair moves in the wind of the blade. You step back. You shift. You put the setting sun directly behind you. Kojiro squints, trying to find you against the blinding light, and in the half-second that he can't see you clearly, you move. The oar sword connects with his skull. He falls. He does not get up. His students are already moving toward you. You run. You get back on the boat. Everyone in Japan hears about it within days. You are, without question, the greatest swordsman alive. You decide to open a fencing school. Running a school is terrible. You close it. For the next 20 years you take various jobs: construction foreman, military advisor, occasional fighter for lords dealing with rebellions. You adopt children. One of them dies by seppuku and the grief stays with you for the rest of your life. The duels slow down. Nobody wants to face you with real swords anymore. Your total count stands at 61 duels. 61 wins. You're 48 when you finally understand something about yourself: you never actually loved fighting. What you love is painting. And poetry. The sword was the vehicle. The art was always the destination. You paint. You write. At 53 you get knocked off a horse by a thrown rock during someone else's rebellion and decide you've had enough of other people's problems. You go back to writing. You produce a martial arts document, the Hyoho Sanjugo, pouring 40 years of everything you know about combat into paper for future warriors. Then your hands start to burn. It starts as a strange tingling, and within weeks it's everywhere: shooting, searing nerve pain that doesn't stop. Neuralgia. You leave the comfort of the Lord's estate where you've been living and move alone into a cave called Ryagando. You sit with the pain. And you write. What comes out of that cave is the Goren no Sho. The Book of 5 Rings. Everything, every duel, every dirty trick, every psychological game, every hard lesson from 60 years of fighting, distilled into one document. Martial arts. Strategy. The psychology of winning. The philosophy of Zen. Consciousness itself. If you know the way broadly, you will see it in all things. Podcasters will tattoo this line on their arms 400 years from now. You don't know that. You're alone in a cave, in tremendous pain, and you write it because it's true. You give the finished manuscript and everything else you own to your most faithful student. You are 61. You have lung cancer. The date is June 13, 1645. You know. You can feel it. You take a bath, possibly the first one in years, if we're being honest. You put on your best clothes. You tighten your belt. You slide your wakizashi into place. You lower yourself carefully to the ground at the mouth of the cave, pull one knee to your chest, and look out at the world. Katana in one hand. Walking cane in the other. The greatest swordsman in history sits quietly, watching the light, and let's go.